What's up, YouTube? Real quick before we get into the video, I apologize for shooting this upright. Every video going forward will be shot the correct way. I apologize ahead of time. Let's jump into the video. What's going on, YouTube? Here we are. We got we're onto a bike here. We got a 92 Yamaha XJ600, a Seca 2 we're going to look at. I found it online. It was only $250. It's kind of a barn find. Somebody that took it apart to just fix a flywheel gear, got it apart, has the new part, everything, just never got around to putting it back together and getting it going again. So we're going to pick it up. We're going to probably rebuild it for the channel. And anyway, this is just the first video, little story of the bike, how we found it, where it's at, and we'll get it back here and assess some of the damage and figure out if we're going to part this thing out or if we're going to build it for the channel. So stick around. Let's do this. Well, as you can see, we brought the whole family along. Got the whole family loaded up here. Going to pick this bike up. Not sure if we're going to part this thing out yet, rebuild it, or walk away. We'll see. We'll see what we get into. Anyway, let's get going. So as it turns out, this bike is like 5 minutes from where we ride. We unload right here our dirt bikes. And then we ride up the edge of the road right here. And there's a nice little single track, motocross track, hill climb area right here that's free. We ride here almost all summer, right there. Down over the hill and stuff, there's all kinds of trails and all kinds of stuff right there. Turns out this guy lives 5 minutes from there. All right, so this guy didn't want to be on camera, so he helped me load it and everything, but it is a complete bike. It is a complete bike, and it is just needs assembled. Even the replacement part that he took it apart for is here. And they actually have a little shop that they have a notary and everything there. So they notarize the title. Everything's done. It's in my name. We're ready to rock. So we just need to get this back to the garage, decide whether or not we're going to part it out or if we're going to end up listing the parts for sale. But yeah, it's all there. It's not in awful shape, actually. You know, all the fairings and stuff just need polished. Frame looks good, just needs cleaned up. Even has the aftermarket Vance & Hines on it. Might sell that and do something else. We'll see. But if we keep it, though, it's going to be sweet. I have a really good idea of what I want to do with it, but engine, it's a relatively low mile bike. It's got like 14,000 miles on it, but engine's just sitting there complete. It's not. I thought the head and everything was off of it, but it's not. So there's actually less work here than I thought. So anyway, even has chain and sprockets that look usable. I don't know if I'm going to use them or not. We'll figure that out. But anyway. Yeah, even this front fairing's not in terrible shape. It probably won't get used, actually. We won't be using this. If we rebuild it, we're gonna do something pretty special. So anyway, yeah, I'll see you back at the garage. As you can see, rough conditions we're working with up here. It got ugly out, actually, while we were out there getting the bike. So, but we did got her home. Just gonna get her unloaded. I'm actually gonna put a couple things inside the toy hauler just to save some space in the shop there, but all right, let's get it in the shop. Oh man, I really wish I could have got unloading that thing on camera, but it was too cold, too blowy. I'm by myself. There was just no way. I mean, it took just to not fall out there. I mean, there's ice all through my driveway. And luckily the front brakes worked just enough to get it unloaded. They did seize up a little bit though. It's not a wheel bearing issue. It rolled nice and free to get it up onto the truck when we loaded it, but unloading it now, the front wheel's all stoved up and it doesn't really want to roll. But first order of business getting it in is I do need to clean up some of the internal engine parts that are disassembled. Clean them, get the water out of them, and then spray them with like a penetrant or like a metal protectant, or even just put some oil on it. Do not let internal motor parts start to rust, because then you could end up with a nightmare. So as soon as you get something wet like that on the inside of a motor, top tip, clean it, hit it with some oil so it stops right there in its tracks. But first assessment of the bike, getting it in the shop here, we'll just start at the back and kind of go through. The tire, brand new, still has tits, it's nice and soft. He put a tire on this pretty recently. Everything is intact back here. We got a little bit of damage. A little bit, nothing crazy that's not fixable. Everything's here intact. It's got the aftermarket Vance & Hines on it. It's just super dirty from sitting. The seat's actually nice and soft, and you know, it's not like it's been sitting for so long that stuff's starting to rot. So I feel pretty lucky, and to be honest, I had to put some penetrant on the gas cap to get the key to turn in it. But then I just got it open before I started shooting it, and I don't know if you probably can't see down in there, but there is like almost no rust in this tank, which believe me, these are all just bonuses. I did not expect to have this type of luck. I mean, like the mirrors are all peckered up. It's missing one. It has its flaws, obviously. You know, and you know, keeping the bike, we're gonna see about that. We don't know 100% yet, so make sure you stick around for next week's episode. We're gonna go over a couple things off camera this week, get a real good assessment of what all is gonna need done, how much we're gonna get involved, and then next week's video, I'll reveal whether or not we're going to build it or part it. And if we're going to build it, I have an absolute... I found one of these online that someone did that is just killer. So I'll show you a reveal kind of like what direction we're going to go with this thing next week. I'm super pumped for that. But anyway, get back into some of the stuff that's going to need done if we keep it. This is obviously rusted, scraped up. The frame will need a little bit of touch-up paint, cleaned, polished. The tank has a couple marks on it, so that'll probably need dealt with if we end up keeping it and making it into something that's going to be nice. I mean, let's put it this way. If we build this thing, it's not going to end up just being like you know, we're not going to just make this thing rideable and put it out for sale. If we're going to build this thing, we're going to make it look pretty sick, and it's going to be a nice build when it's done. I don't half-ass stuff. The suspension on these, though. Real quick backstory on these bikes. This one has 12,300 miles, so it's pretty low mile, but the backstory on these bikes is even in 92, to get a full-blown sport bike from Yamaha, you were looking at between 8,700 and 9,700, depending on what all you went with. So this was like their budget entry-level sport bike. 47 horsepower to the wheel, really good gas mileage, $3,799 total MSRP, so... you know, so definitely an inexpensive bike, but it did have inexpensive parts on it. It's only got one front brake. The suspension's awful. I'll drop it down off the stands to start next week's video and bounce it. It's so bouncy, it's so bad. I guarantee the oil, there's no oil left in the front forks, I bet. But speaking of that, you know, these are definitely aftermarket. Those are coming off either way. But even like these bolts and stuff, they're not terrible. It's not roached. You know, I definitely wouldn't consider this roached by any means. So it's not going to take a ton of work, you know, just maintenance, some upkeep. You know, it does have some rust spots starting we're going to have to clean up and make sure that we deal with, so that if I do sell this on down the road, it doesn't keep rotting. It was either down or someone scraped something up against it real bad in their garage. It's missing the grab bars back here, which I'll probably source those if we build it and put them back on, because that's nice to hang helmets and you know, this isn't like a full-blown sport bike. So when it's built, I anticipate someone that's going to buy it's going to want to use it for back and forth to work, commuting, stuff like that. So it's nice to have those grab bars to use for netting and hooking stuff to the back of your bike. So it's really not that bad, guys. I mean, honestly, even the engine, you know, looking at this engine, it just needs cleaned up. You know, usually like bikes that sit and stuff, there's like pitting and all that. This does not have any of that. So anyway, make sure you like the video. Helps out the YouTube algorithm a lot. Subscribe and click the bell so you can find your way back to see exactly what direction we're going to head with this next week. Catch you on the next one.